Schools are a place meant for learning, but what would happen if secretly behind the scenes a fight club was started in between the students? Well, that is the story we'll be discussing today. Since its release in 1999,
Is it loud enough, chat?
David Fincher's Fight Club has become ingrained within pop culture. In it, the protagonist organizes the titular brawls as an escape from his bland, monotonous life. Ignoring its thematic relevance, because of the film's success, many real-world stories have surfaced of copycats inspired by the premise. While these are typically formed by adults, there have been a handful of instances in which children
Actually, before we start, chat, let's spend like a good 10 minutes to make sure it's level. So a little bit more bass, okay. Let me add some bass on my mixer. Okay. Anything else would you guys want? Turn it up. Turn it up. Okay, I'll turn it up.
Young as 14 found themselves in the brutal ritual. And perhaps
okay, is that too loud, too quiet? Do I need to lower it, raise it, turn me up, turn me down, maybe turn up the treble a little bit, make it a little bit more trebly up there, you know, anything like that? It's good enough. It can't be good enough. It needs to be perfect. Okay. Let me turn up the bass. The bass. Not bassed enough. Okay. I'm turning up the bass. Turning up the bass. Test. All right. Levels are good.
Discussing today. Since its release in 1999, David Fincher's Fight Club has become ingrained within pop culture. In it, the protagonist organizes the titular brawls as an escape from his bland, monotonous life. Ignoring its thematic relevance, because of the film's success, many real-world stories have surfaced of copycats inspired by the premise. While these are typically formed by adults, there have been a handful of instances in which children as young as 14 found themselves in the brutal ritual. And perhaps even more disturbingly, some were goaded into it by the very same adults who have been entrusted with the responsibility of their well-being. Our story for
Why do so many teachers suck, man?
Today takes place at Montville High School in the small state of Connecticut. In the fall of 2017, a man named
It'd have been hilarious if it was about my
Ryan Fish was employed to work as a substitute teacher. Being just 22 years of age, Ryan was rather young for the gig. Because of this,
22?
When assigned a class of freshmen that semester, he struggled to not view Montville as a social environment, and made it his goal to be considered the cool teacher. Mr. Fish began to advertise his room as the quote-unquote kickback class, where for
Oh, dude, he's 22 and he's already that cringe.
the last 10 minutes, he'd allow for them to do whatever they wanted. He went so far as to invite students from other lessons to leave early in order to visit. While this caused him to earn a positive reputation amongst teens, he was enabling some rather questionable behavior. For example, his whiteboard was often filled with obscene images, such as graphic depictions of other teachers giving him oral. Ryan also attempted to bond over stories of smoking marijuana and other drugs. Very little learning seemed to be done, as students considered him a mentor in all ways but mathematics. He even shared his personal Snapchat to them, as a gesture of friendship. In an interview, Ryan would describe this teaching style as an attempt to be the teacher that the kids could come to actually express themselves and work through their issues. Despite this clear misconduct, for the first month of the semester, the district turned a blind eye, with the substitutes kickback class continuing well into October. However, in the middle of that month, the enabling escalated to the point that his behavior could no longer be ignored. Around that time, multiple cell phone videos began to surface of children slapboxing each other in his room to the point of blood and vomit. One graphically showed a 16-year-old beaten so severely that they began dry heaving over a desk. Another left a student with a bloody lip before class. And it's not as if Mr. Fish was unaware of these altercations occurring. He was actively involved, at times even seen in the footage encouraging it. For example, after a boy threw up, Ryan shockingly attempted to initiate a second round, only being stopped due to the bell ringing shortly thereafter. though much of the footage is no longer available online anymore. Usually he played the role of referee, outstretching his arms and thrusting them down, and cueing matches on the count of 3. Afterwards, the educator would walk back to his desk, observing the juvenile combatants as a smile grew on his face. As word of Montville's Fight Club spread across the campus, crowds began to form as kids cheered on the brawls. As a result, its existence was soon made apparent to the rest of the staff, with parents and witnesses emailing their concerns. On October 10th, the high school's assistant principal, Tatiana Pattern, had Mr. Fish escorted by security to her office. When confronted, he attempted to defend himself, stating that boys will be boys, and that he grew up—
Here we go again, chat. The classic boys will be boys. The classic kids, you know, it's just what they do, man. But what the fuck? I hate these stupid fucking educators. It's just kids being kids, man. Boys will be boys, man. Like, fuck off. He's 22. Dude, he's a boy.
In the countryside where boys do stuff like that. To his shock, she remained unconvinced by this line of reasoning, and the man was fired that same day. Despite now being made aware of the situation, administrators didn't report it to authorities. They deemed it as not a law enforcement matter, and with Ryan's expulsion, higher-ups officially considered the ordeal resolved. Months later in December, however, one student would decide to break the first rule of high school fight club, causing this case to return to the spotlight. We'll learn more about this after a brief word from our sponsor.
Wait, did he talk about Fight Club, Smile?
You respect this company for coming out here after the substitute
Keeps is good, by the way.
dismissal. The student's wounds began to heal as life went back to normal. Because of this, school staff assumed that the story was over and that their negligence of allowing a fight club to occur on their watch would remain concealed. Things all changed, though, on December 14th, 2017, when one of the boys who participated in the fight spoke to a social worker from Connecticut's Department of Children and Families. The victim was visibly shaken and confessed that he'd been that way ever since getting beaten up at school.
Keep sucks, don't use it. Okay, well, you're wrong. It's fine to be wrong. See, that's what I'm saying. I allow opinions in my chat, even when they're wrong opinions.
The woman examined him and noticed real and identifiable signs of trauma. As a result, the 15-year-old was taken to the hospital for a mental health evaluation, and the alleged crime was described to law enforcement. Police arrived at Montville High the very next day. They were met by the school's assistant principal, who finally informed them of what had occurred months prior. After disclosing Ryan's involvement in the high school fight club, law enforcement requested that all materials pertaining to the altercation be forwarded. Initially, the staff complied, creating a thumb drive with relevant videos on it, but then they realized that legally nothing had to be turned over without a search warrant. Thankfully, authorities acquired that approval quickly, and were shocked to discover 6 different videos of teens as young as 14 swinging full force at each other's heads with open-handed strikes. Now, with clear leads as to the participants, they began—
How bad was your fight club, Pig? Again, my fight club was 5 dudes. They didn't even stick to the rule of fight club. Everyone knew it was happening. The thing is, the reason no one cared is because it was 5 losers. I use that term as like a genuine, like they were just douches. They were just rude people. You weren't in it? Unfortunately, I really wanted to be. But they were just really just bad people. And they would just go to the park after school and beat each other up. Everyone knew about it. It's just like no one really cared because it's like they're just stupid. You know, like they're just being stupid. It's their parents' job to handle it. You know what I mean? If your parents aren't going to deal with you doing that shit, that's on them. You know, they weren't doing it on school grounds or anything.
and reaching out to each of the victims seen in the footage. In these chats, one said that they didn't want to fight at all, having been hit first with no prior warning. It wasn't long before they acquired enough evidence to interrogate Ryan on his involvement. The self-described kickback class teacher was first interviewed on January 3rd, 2018 at the local police department. Mr. Fish was initially only asked about the fight that resulted in a student vomiting. He attempted to defend himself, excusing it as horseplay. He then claimed that the fights began without his knowledge while out in the hall, and he didn't have the de-escalation skills necessary to stop it. When questioned further, he indicated it was the only fight that occurred, though quickly backtracked and admitted to remembering another when investigators described the second incident. Caught off guard, he told them that he would let them be teenagers and get their energy out, then admitted to egging them on.
Get their energy? Dude, who is this guy? Who the fuck is this guy? Get their energy out? Who are you, dude? What?
And before subsequently requesting an attorney and ending the interview. 6 days later, police would return to his home acting on a search warrant. Mr. Fish surprisingly requested a second interview. This time, the disgraced substitute teacher seemed to give a more honest recollection, fully acknowledging it had gone too far. He then reasoned that because he was so close to the student's age, he adopted the wrong mindsets, revealing his motivations by stating, "The truth is, I'm an idiot and wanted to befriend them. I'm immature."
What 22-year-old wants to befriend like 16-year-olds? You know, like the amount of like a maturity difference is so what the fuck?
On April 12th, 2018, Ryan Fish was arrested on 2 counts of risking injury to children, as well as 4 of reckless endangerment. A week later, 3 Montville High administrators were also arrested on account of failing to report the incidents. This
what the fuck?
Included the aforementioned Tatiana Pattern, as well as Principal Jeffrey Theodos and Superintendent Brian Levesque. Ryan's trial will conclude 6 months later. Though prosecutors refer to the allegations as serious, they were hesitant to sentence him harshly due to his age and apparent need for treatment. On October 24th, Mr. Fish was granted an accelerated pre-trial.
Yeah, it probably was just a dude who just wanted to be popular in high school. He wasn't popular in high school, and he came back to high school. He's like, I'm going to be popular in this one.
Trial rehabilitation program that, if completed, would lead to the criminal charges against him being dropped. As a result, he was released on probation in a bizarre and, to the children that were brutalized under his watch, upsetting slap on the wrist. That same month, the school superintendent resigned from the district, accepting a severance package worth over $230,000. All charges against him were dropped. The principal opted to retire ahead of schedule, causing the case against him to also be dropped. Not wanting to leave the field of education, Assistant Principal Pattern refused to resign, and remained in court until 2019, when the judge finally granted—
Yo, what was with that drop in music, that ominous music? Like, bro, watch out, she coming.
And remained in court until 2019, when the judge finally granted her an accelerated rehabilitation program as well. Proceeding the fallout, it appears that Ryan Fish left the field of education, and that is probably for the best. So with that, I think I'll end the video here. And until next time, thanks for—
Imagine how cool a 20-year-old is to high schoolers because they can buy alcohol. True. So nothing happened. Yeah, that was pretty tame. That I thought more would happen, but that's actually extremely tame. I thought it would, like, someone was gonna like get extremely injured or some shit. But it literally just sounds like my high school. I'm not gonna lie. It literally just sounds like what happened in my high school.
Now it's time to walk away. I hope you enjoyed your stay. Did you laugh or cry or maybe subscribed? I'll thank you either way. You know I will miss you. I hope you return. Tell your friend or your mother to get me more views, please.